Briefing Program. I'm Kelsey Kiesling.
And I'm Kendra Cook. The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
Here at the News at Noon show, we present news we hope you find interesting and report on local issues and events. Call us with your news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We appreciate you watching DCTV. Today's show is live Wednesday at noon and rebroadcast at 3 and 6 p.m. and re-aired on Saturday at noon, 3 and 6.
Coming up, search for missing man, coal future, growing cannabis market, and more.
And find out about a ski death, a crash on Highway 160, and the Mancus Playground, along with the weather, sheriff's report, and the area happenings.
That's all coming up today, March 29th, 2017. Now here's the news. Reported by the Durango Herald, a 56-year-old Florida man was taken off life support Saturday after suffering injuries from a ski accident last week at Wolf Creek Ski Area, said owner Davey Pitcher. Michael Black, who owned a second home in Pagosa Springs, died at St. Anthony's Hospital in Lakewood 5 days after he crashed into a tree while skiing at Wolf Creek on March 21st. According to Pitcher, Black was on his first or second run of the day on a groomed intermediate trail called Summer Days when he lost control and fell. Pitcher said ski patrol arrived to find Black conscious and able to recount the accident. There were no witnesses. Though some details remain unclear, Pitcher said it appears Black lost a ski and as a result began to tomahawk when a skier crashes and turns end over end consecutively. He then lost control, skied off the trail, and struck a tree. In his words, he said he tomahawked and felt or heard his neck break, Pitcher said. And then he slid off the edge of the trail, Pitcher said. Black sustained internal injuries, including broken ribs and a collapsed lung. He was wearing a helmet, Black told first responders. He probably should have slowed down. Black was taken to St. Anthony's, where he was able to communicate with his wife, who was in Florida. She arranged to come to Colorado the following day, but sometime Wednesday night, Black sustained a blood clot in his brain and lost consciousness. On Saturday, Black's wife decided to take him off life support. She arranged to donate some of his organs.
DCTV had shared this post last week on our Facebook page, and as reported in the Cortez Journal, a 31-year-old Cortez resident remains missing after more than a week of searching by law enforcement. According to Montezuma County Sheriff Steve Nowlin, Eric Hurley was last seen Friday, March 17th at 21285 County Road P. He was reported missing on March 18th and hasn't been heard from since. Despite 2 or 3 full, solid days of searching by sheriff's deputies and search and rescue teams, as well as interviews with neighbors and family members, Nowlin said he still had no concrete leads on Hurley's whereabouts as of Tuesday. We've searched through the canyons, the fields, the draws, and there's been no sign of anything, Nowlin said. He's missing all right. He said there's no evidence of foul play in Hurley's disappearance, and it's not clear whether he is at risk. Detective Bryce Queen said Hurley left his vehicle and identification at his parents' house. He likely left on foot or was picked up by someone, Queen said. Hurley's mother, Carol, said she last saw him when he picked up dinner for the family on March 17th. She said there was no indication that he planned to leave town or that anything was wrong. She said this isn't like him. They always keep in close touch. In addition to sheriff's deputies, several search and rescue teams, including the Dolores K-9 team, have searched the area around County Road P with no results. Nowlin said the lack of evidence in the immediate area leads him to believe Hurley was picked up. Hurley is 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs 195 pounds, and has blue eyes. According to Carol Hurley, his head was shaved when he was last seen. Although Hurley's close relatives and neighbors have been interviewed, Queen encouraged anyone with information on his whereabouts to contact the sheriff's office immediately. Carol Hurley echoed that request and said that the community has supported her family ever since her son went missing, and she is grateful.
According to the Cortez Journal, a rollover crash a few miles east of the La Plata-Montezuma County line on U.S. Highway 160 sent 2 people to Mercy Medical Center in Durango on Tuesday afternoon, Colorado State Patrol Trooper Josh Lewis said on Wednesday morning. About 3:30 p.m., a 2008 Dodge hatchback rolled over near mile marker 65 on the highway about 3 miles east of Mancus Hill, according to Lewis. The driver of the car, an 80-year-old man from Cortez, and a passenger were transported to Mercy. He did not provide details on their identification or injuries. Though a cause of the crash had not been determined, roads were slick at the time of the crash, Lewis said. No drugs or alcohol was involved in the crash. Only one vehicle was involved in the crash, and a tow truck was called fairly quickly. Crews cleared the scene by about 5:30 p.m., he said.
Reported in the Durango Herald, there appear to be no changes for San Juan Generating Station with Trump's new order. Part of a coal-fired power plant in northwestern New Mexico is still scheduled for retirement, despite President Donald Trump's executive order Tuesday to roll back measures aimed at tackling global warming. And New Mexico's largest electric provider has no plans to shift gears when it comes to promoting cleaner energy, a spokesman said. Trump made good on a campaign promise to unravel the previous administration's efforts to restrict coal use. Several of the mandates could be suspended, rescinded, or flagged for review to boost domestic energy production in the form of fossil fuels. The president argued his order would revive the coal industry and create a level playing field for workers. Paul Shipley, a spokesman for Public Service Company of New Mexico, said it will take time to see how the president's actions may or may not impact our business going forward. Pressure to limit regional haze-causing pollution and other emissions from coal-fired power plants resulted in an agreement between the utility and federal and state regulators to close 2 units at the utility's San Juan Generating Station by the end of 2017. The agreement was years in the making, and Shipley said the utility doesn't expect Trump's order to change the planned retirement or the company's efforts to continue to integrate cleaner resources into its portfolio. The utility already has invested nearly $270 billion in solar farms across the state in recent years. The utility is also determining the future of the remaining units at the San Juan plant and whether they will operate beyond 2022. A preliminary analysis showed closing the plant could provide long-term benefits to customers. Affordability and environmental responsibility are among the factors the utility will consider before making a final decision.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Dolores Schools presents Parenting with Wit and Wisdom by best-selling author and speaker Barbara Coloroso on April 11th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the main high school gym. Coloroso is an expert on bully prevention, creating a positive school climate, grieving, and restorative justice. She is the author of 4 international bestsellers on parenting, teaching ethical behavior, and the problem of bullying. She has appeared on Oprah and CNN and has been featured in the New York Times, Newsweek, and Time. Recent youth suicides in Dolores and Montezuma County have led to more awareness of the problem of bullying and student mental health. Coloroso said similar issues are happening in nearby Montrose and elsewhere in the state. Colorado has a high rate of suicides. I will be addressing how bullying can push kids over the edge, she said. We want to raise a generation of kids who will speak out and defend the victim when they see bullying. The evening will be packed with solid, practical advice for parents and how to identify and combat mental health issues. Coloroso said a common misconception is that bullying is normal, but it's not healthy behavior. Often parents, teachers, and adults fail to recognize when normal youth conflict elevates to bullying intended to do harm. Addressing that situation is a needed skill for students, teachers, and parents, she said, adding that bullying is more than just the bully and the victim. And now let's take a look at our weather.
Clearing skies and pleasant weather are expected to prevail today and through most of the day Thursday. A significant storm system is expected to begin to impact the area beginning Thursday afternoon, with showers and afternoon thunderstorms possible. Snow levels will fall to 5,000 to 6,000 feet Friday morning, with mountain snow of 5 to 10 inches expected and locally greater amounts possible. The National Weather Service asks that you please keep an eye on your local forecast for updates on this developing situation, including winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings. The NWS advisory states that a very progressive upper-level pattern will begin to affect the area late Thursday evening as a deep upper-level trough digs from the northwest. Cold mid-level temperatures and ample moisture will support snow, primarily above 6,000 feet. Periods of heavy snow may make travel difficult in the passes. Terrain-enhanced snow showers will linger through Sunday evening. A quick break gives way to another strong storm beginning Monday night. Significant snowfall in mountain zones is expected once again. Snow will linger through next Tuesday afternoon as the storm departs to the east. For the national outlook, Severe thunderstorms are expected later today into tonight from parts of East Texas, eastern Oklahoma, and southeast Kansas into the lower and middle Mississippi Valley. Very large hail, tornadoes, and damaging winds are all possible. All of that is behind the low pressure system moving across the southeast and off the eastern coast. Miscellaneous rain potential is spotty above that large concentrated system throughout the Midwest and a section of the northern Rockies. And back to the local area for the 5-day forecast outlook, we're currently reaching into the 50s with a low overnight of 32 at the station. Those north-northwesterly winds are a bit less than yesterday afternoon, now in the teens. The overnight again should hover right around the freezing mark. Thursday, once again, will be reaching up into the lower 60s with that chance of rain snow coming in later in the evening or overnight. Temperatures fall back down to around 35 by the early morning hours. Friday, more potential for snow exists in our elevation range, but the high temps will be curtailed down to the upper 40s. Then things clear out for a partly sunny weekend in the 50s and again at or just above freezing overnight. Right now, the start of next week still looks to be partly sunny, but the potential for another round of rain snow showers may come in Monday night and into next Tuesday. March is a bumpy month as we transition into full-on spring, but not usually until sometime later in April. And now, back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, landowners who want to protect private forest areas from development or non-forest uses may submit proposals to the Colorado State Forest Service for conservation easements. The Forest Legacy Program authorizes the Colorado or U.S. Forest Service to purchase permanent conservation easements and allow landowners to own and manage their land while receiving compensation for unrealized development rights. Forest lands that contain scenic, cultural, recreational, water, and wildlife resources receive priority. Participants are required to follow a state management plan which allows activities such as timber harvesting, grazing, and recreation. The Colorado State Forest Stewardship Coordinating Committee evaluates proposals and recommends to the state forester those proposals that may advance to the U.S. Forest Service. Forwarded proposals then compete at a regional and national level for funding. The application deadline is July 28th for funding in fiscal year 2019. Proposals must be submitted by mail. For more information and an application, call Susan Matthews at 970-491-6303.
According to a report in the Durango Herald, America's cannabis industry will continue growing at double-digit rates over the next 4 years, even with ambiguity emanating from the White House as the drug gains popularity. This, according to a leading marijuana research firm. Legalized pot in North America will continue to grow at a compound annual rate of 27% through 2021, according to an ArcView market research report released last Thursday. The momentum of the past few years won't be stopped by the Trump administration, said Chief Executive Officer Troy Dayton. While President Donald Trump has gone back and forth about his stance on marijuana, Attorney General Jeff Sessions has been a clear opponent and has vowed to enforce laws against drug use, including cannabis. But Dayton and others in the industry say a crackdown is unlikely because of the popularity of the movement and the funds it would take to renew the war on the drug, he said. It's just so politically unpopular, it would be silly. About 71% of voters say the government should not enforce federal laws against marijuana in states that have legalized medical or recreational use, according to a recent poll from Quinnipiac University. The federal government's hands are also tied by legislation, Dayton said. Sessions has said he agrees with parts of the Obama administration's COLE, that's C-O-L-E, memorandum, the document that allowed states to develop markets without federal interference. Even if Sessions were to rip up the memo, Congress passed an amendment to an appropriations bill in December of 2014 that makes it impossible to use Justice Department funds to interfere with state implementation of medical marijuana. While recreational sales of the drug are unprotected, that could change this fall, Dayton said. In North America, consumers spent $6.7 billion on legalized weed in 2016, according to the ArcView report. That's up 34% from the prior year. Growth may slow this year because states that voted in favor of legalization in November largely won't begin sales until 2018, Dayton said. The report also shows that illicit cannabis sales declined in states with legal programs. Overall, cannabis sales in North America were about $56.1 billion in 2016, 88% of which was on the black market, according to that report. Globally, the ArcView expects growth to continue on a similar trajectory. We've got all these other countries that are passing more laws and also other states, and presumably the federal government could end marijuana prohibition as soon as 2021, he said. There's never been a market that's grown at 20+% growth each year for 10 years, right? But that's possible here.
Reported by the Cortez Journal, Mancos Elementary School has been awarded an $110,000 grant that will fund upgrades at its playground. Great Outdoors Colorado awarded the funds as part of the agency's Schoolyard Initiative program, according to a March 23rd press release from the agency. Mancos Schools Superintendent Brian Hansen said Monday the grant is part of a larger master plan for campus upgrades. That's great news, he said of the Schoolyard Initiative grant. The program aims to create school grounds that inspire active physical play and enhance learning about nature and the environment, according to the GOCO website. All schoolyards must be designated in part by students, or designed in part by students. 14 elementary schoolers formed a youth task force that helped design the Mancos plans, which include an outdoor classroom near the Mancos River. Funded schools are also eligible to become part of Colorado Parks and Wildlife Schools and Outdoor Learning Environment, or SOL, program that provides field trips, family nature nights, and outdoor education training for teachers, according to the release. The district is responsible for raising 25% of the total project costs, either in cash or in kind contributions of materials or services. The plans for the Mancos playground include a 12-foot-tall net climber, a group swing, a water table, and a wet sand digging area. A new dining terrace would be constructed south of the cafeteria building, and the hill south of that building would be regraded to be optimized for sledding. The playground also will connect to the Mancos River Walk. A footbridge would be constructed across the river, connecting to a property the school district acquired last year on the south side of the river.
The Durango Herald reported that the Colorado budget increases funding for education. Colorado's $28.3 billion state budget, which increases funding for K-12 and higher education, cleared the formality of a committee meeting hearing on Tuesday. Senate Bill 254, the so-called long bill, represents months of work by the Bipartisan Joint Budget Committee and gives a 4.2% increase in overall funding from this year's budget, including $667 million more discretionary funding for the state. It was approved 6-1 by the Senate Appropriations Committee Tuesday and now heads to the Senate floor for a lengthy process of debate and amendments. While the bottom line number for the budget is $28.3 billion, some of these funds are counted twice, meaning in reality the budget is closer to $26.8 billion. Included in the budget is a $216.7 million increase in funding for K-12, which is larger than reported last week and amounts to a 4% increase. Despite this increase, the educational negative factor, which is an interpretation of statute that funding for K-12 should be increased based on the total funding for school and not the per pupil funding, is estimated to go up $48 million. Higher education in Colorado also receives a funding increase of $177 million under the proposed budget, including more than $303,000 for Fort Lewis College, where in-state students also will experience a $367 per semester increase. But something had to be cut to balance the budget because Colorado lawmakers can only retain so much money under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, or TABOR. Hospitals, particularly those in rural areas, took the brunt this year because of a $264 million reduction in the amount of revenue collected under the hospital provider fee. This fee is a charge placed on hospitals by the state to unlock matching federal dollars. Funds received through the fee are then returned to hospitals based on a formula which generally favors rural hospitals and subsidizes their operations. By eliminating this fee, lawmakers were able to avoid paying refunds to taxpayers and maximize the amount of tax dollars they could retain for operation of the state's government. A bill that would enterprise the provider fee to make it not count toward the revenue limit under TABOR was introduced to the Senate Monday evening, but still has an uphill battle as similar measures have been killed by Republicans in the chamber. Despite the overall increases, few at the Capitol are happy with the final result. Lawmakers are working on amendments that will be presented today, Wednesday, and debated by the Senate before the long bill heads to the House next week for a duplication of the process. The bill will likely go through many iterations before reaching its final version.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of March 20th through the 26th. A deputy found an open door at a local business during routine building inspections. After checking the premises, he locked the door. A county resident's suspicious vehicle check was found to have the resident on scene and all was fine. Many vehicles that skipped the port of entry were stopped and turned around. A resident requested assistance with a relative regarding an inmate situation. A reckless driver that was called in by a local resident was stopped and ticketed. Several lost dogs were returned to their respective owners. Deputies responded to a car versus deer accident at Cross Canyon. A county resident reported a suspicious vehicle in a field near their home. Deputies investigated and learned that the occupant was an employee of the owner of the property. A motorist reported 2 puppies running at large in town. A deputy responded and the owners were notified. That's it for today's roundup. Stay tuned for continuing updates.
And here's today's High Country happening. Saturday, April 1st. Growing Spaces LLC is excited to announce a Tour de Domes Durango for 2017. This event will feature several growing domes of various sizes, ranging from 250 square feet to a generous 1,300 square feet. It'll be a day of fun in the gardens, sharing tips and learning about growing your own local, non-GMO, fresh vegetables year-round in the San Juan Mountains. The Growing Domes on Tour will be open for public viewing from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for self-guided tours. Maps will be distributed that morning at the Native Roots Garden Center in Durango. They'll have drinks, snacks, and a raffle for special seed packets. If you would like your growing dome to be featured in our event or have questions, please contact Casey or Jason at 970-731-2120 or online at geodesic-greenhouse-kits.com. From Friday, March 31st, 2017 from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. to Saturday, April 1st from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Check out what the excitement is all about when the legendary Ram-sponsored monster truck, Raminator, rolls into New Country Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram at 333 South Broadway in Cortez. Guests of all ages are invited to see how they measure up against the towering 5-foot 5-inch tires, meet the talent behind the wheel, and receive an autograph and take a photo with a member of the Hall Brothers racing team. Since 2002, 2 of the most iconic and most feared opponents in monster truck racing have been sponsored by the Ram Truck brand, Raminator and Ramunition. In December 2014, Raminator and driver Mark Hall broke the Guinness World Records record for the fastest speed for a monster truck, hitting a record speed of 99.10 miles per hour. For more information on the Ram Monster Truck lineup, visit raminator.com. All of the happenings are listed on the DCTV Facebook page. Check it out. If you have news or event information you'd like us to share, send us an email at dcbnnews@gmail.com or call us here at the station. The number is 677-4119.
Thanks for tuning in. A reminder that this program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday and rebroadcast at 3 and now 6 p.m. and again aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 3, and 6 p.m. each day, respectively.
And again, check us out on Facebook. It's DCTV News at Noon. Like us there, join the local conversation, and share with a friend. A program note that our Talk Tuesday live call-in show airs live on Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. and can be seen rebroadcast nightly thereafter at 5:30 before the evening news replays.
For Kendra Cook and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. Thanks for watching.